Match 69 is of huge significance for IPL 2022, the last consequential game of the league phase of this year's tournament. And it sees the Mumbai Indians, who are looking to end the season on a high, up against the Delhi Capitals side that have renewed hope and know that matters are in their hands. If they win, they will remove Royal Challengers Bangalore from that fourth spot and take it as their own, and set an appointment with the Lucknow Super Giants in the eliminator as we look at the final four being decided today at the IPL. We shall look forward to this Delhi v Mumbai clash on Maruti Suzuki Presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Timeout, powered by IQ 9 5G. You'll have a lot of RCB fans supporting the Mumbai Indians today. And just as the coin went up and down, so did the rains. The first rains in our part of the world. Will it affect the game? It only adds to the drama of today's match, and we'll find out in some time if it's caused a delay or whether the match will indeed kick off at its usual 7:30 p.m. time. Daniel Vettori and Piyush Chawla with me to look ahead to a game that matters, of great significance. This should be exciting. The rain only adds to the excitement, I guess.
No, I don't think excitement's the right word with rain. No, I think
but
it's...
But you're thinking like the franchise, like Mumbai and Delhi.
Yeah, trepidation for Delhi.
Piyush, big one today. Do you get the feeling that Delhi Capitals have the edge with the kind of form and the type of wins they've had in the last two, or is this a dangerous game to play Mumbai?
Well, definitely it's a dangerous game, and as you said, it started pouring there. It becomes even more dangerous because if you are chasing in rain-affected game, it's always easier because when you're batting, you don't know what's happening with Duckworth. I don't know whether it's going to be a 20 overs game or it's going to cut short to few overs, so it's going to be very challenging and very tricky.
Yeah, I mean, it's a toss that you think now, does it assume slightly greater significance because of the rain that's come down? Now, as I speak, I'm actually seeing pictures of the covers that came on literally about 3 minutes back as Murali Karthik was halfway through his toss, and they're already going off the surface now. So it looks like it was just one of those, flashes of rain, which I call, given my extensive knowledge of the weather in these parts.
Well, it shouldn't have affected the pitch at all, but because Karthik took so long with the toss, maybe it has.
Maybe he didn't feel the rain.
No, he didn't.
But he knew. Today he didn't have one of his hats on, if you notice. He normally always has one of his spectacular hats on. But enough of Murali Karthik. We will talk about this game itself. It looks like it's going off, but on a very serious note, that little burst of rain, Piyush, I'm sure you've seen it in our part of the world many times. A 10, 20 second little downpour on an open pitch, does that at all affect how it'll play?
Well, it's not going to make much of a difference because, it's not, I don't know how heavy it was, but even if it was just like a passing shower, it's not going to make much of a difference.
You don't see that happening either?
No, I don't think so. I think the surface at Wankhedi's been pretty true most of the time, and if anything, it will help it. It will assist it a little bit. So we'll see it half an hour before they walk on the field. So I don't think that little rain shower will affect it at all.
Yeah, and Karthik knew that as well. So anyway, if you're Rishabh Pant in this game, he said at the toss he would have rather bowled. Are these sort of tosses in these must-win games not bad tosses to lose, though?
I think it's good for them. I think the surface will dictate a reasonably high-scoring game, and therefore they can put pressure on with the bat early on. Sometimes when you convince yourself that you can have two bites of the cherry if you bowl second, you can see the target in front of you. Bowl first. You can see the target in front of you and then understand what you need to do. But because run rate's not an issue, it's just about winning the game, I actually believe that batting first will suit them even more.
Piyush, it's a team that's at full strength now with the return of Prithvi Shaw. That must be a real shot in the arm for them, because now we're looking at a team that you say has all their best players available, fit, playing. Batting first may not be such a bad thing, even though Pant said he would have bowled.
Well, we have seen in last few games, like if you're batting first and you're putting a score on the board, so it's not that easy to chase it down. So, and Mumbai has nothing to lose, but it's a big game for Delhi. So they don't want to chase something if they're suppose fielding, and then they don't want to chase something excess of 170 odd. So it's always good to bat first and put those, runs on the board and just get early wickets and make sure they just get those points on the table. But so it's always better to, bat first in these kind of situations, I believe.
Yeah, it might not be the worst thing then for the Delhi Capitals that they are going to be batting first. It looks like the skies have cleared, the cover's already off, so assumption is that there will not be a delay in the first ball, which should carry on at 7:30. Prithvi Shaw's return. It's an interesting one. He was in hospital due to illness, which can only tell us that it wasn't just one of those fevers you couldn't run off in the hotel. I'm sure you'd have wanted him back as soon as possible, but what can we expect from Prithvi Shaw in a game like this?
I think you can expect the same player because of his style of play, that he's aggressive no matter what. It doesn't seem to matter the situation, and potentially how he's feeling about himself will be irrelevant because he'll just go out there and play. So I think he needed this time. It felt like Delhi weren't going to rush him at any stage to come back because, as we know, it's difficult coming back from something like this. So it is great to see him back, and they'll want to see him at his best because, once again, he's one of those players like a Joss Butler who can win a game irrespective of their form, so they can go into a semi-final or a final and just turn up and play and win.
Is it easier for batters to just come back from illness? I don't know if it was typhoid or a stomach bug, but something that kept him out. Bowlers take longer, Piyush?
Everything's easier for batters.
Well, well, everyone takes some time because it's not like, I believe it's not that easy once you come out of a break and you were hospitalized and you need those couple of days of practice. I don't know whether he got it or not, but you do need like a couple of good sessions. You want to bat longer in the nets. So if he had that and the kind of form he showed before getting ill, I'm sure he'll be back with a bang.
Yeah, he's at a ground that is familiar to him. It is the Wankhede Stadium. Prithvi Shaw plays all his domestic cricket here, knows quite a bit about that Mumbai Indians lineup too. So fair to say that Delhi would welcome him back. It comes at the expense of Lalit Yadav. So Sarfaraz Khan keeps his place. We can only assume at the back of an impressive start in the last one. But given he is unlikely to open, is that the right selection?
I think so. I think finally we're seeing Delhi's best team after all these injuries, all these illnesses. Nokia obviously taking a while to get back to fitness. But I believe Sarfaraz Khan can be effective anywhere in that batting order. We know the style he likes to play in terms of being aggressive and hitting behind the wicket or scooping behind the wicket. And I think that's still available to him through the middle stages. And he plays spin well. And he'll probably know some of these younger Mumbai Indian players as well. So I feel like finally Delhi's got their best team on the park.
Marsh at 3 regardless though?
Absolutely. I think they've backed Marsh for a consistent period of time through those tough times at the start, and he's repaid them in this this back half of the season.
Sarfaraz has struggled to have that sort of impact in the middle. I mean, the last game, Piyush, was the first game that we saw the best of Sarfaraz Khan. Is he, in your opinion, the right selection ahead of Lalit Yadav, and does he bat in the middle order as a floater and with Marsh sticking at 3?
Definitely, the kind of innings Marsh has played, he definitely a first choice at number 3. And if you see, Sarfaraz is a middle order batsman only. He opened the inning because there was no proper opener. They tried so many openers, and the way he batted in the last game, but if it was automatic choice when Prithvi Shaw comes in. So it's obvious that if Prithvi Shaw is here, so he'll go down the order, and he's somebody who can contribute lower down the order as well. And he can get you few quick runs. He played those, cameos earlier also. So he's capable of doing that. And if you talk about Lalit Yadav, he's somebody who has a different role to play. So I think it's a right choice to make.
All right, simple as that. All eyes on Prithvi Shaw as well as David Warner, who of course we thought would be a key player for them if they are to make this charge into the playoffs. And it has been at the back of Warner's form that Delhi's form has improved. What we're seeing is a bit of a hit and miss Warner, though, to be honest. After that first ball duck, he's now looking at scores in alternate innings. He did have a series of 3 good scores back-to-back before that. So if you extend that list, looks a bit better. But Warner, this sort of game just fires him up.
Geez, you're tough on him. That's inconsistent.
I'm not calling him that. I'm merely pointing out his last 6 innings and mentioning that the last 9 look a lot better. Yeah.
I think that's a very good start. I mean, it's obviously been tough on openers sometimes where they've started well and fallen away in the back end of the season. But Warner's normally the absolute epitome of consistency when it comes to IPL, and I think this season has been a continuation of that. So he has played in so many big games that I think they will turn to him for all his experience in these situations.
Tell me a bit more about what a big player adds in a big game like this, because it's not like any other game. They can virtually treat this like a playoff.
I simply think it's calmness. I've been here before. I know what it feels like. I know the nerves. I know how to deal with those nerves. I know how to turn those nerves into a performance, and therefore I can set an example, firstly with the build-up in terms of the training and the conversations and the scouting, and then on game day I can show you how to perform, really. And I think for most of those guys, there's enough experienced guys in there who've played the games that we find, but for the likes of Sarfaraz Khan, it could be really important how he mentors him through this this important game. Even Rovman Powell, I know he's played a lot of cricket, but IPL games are huge. So there could be conversations with those two that could just help them have a great day.
Yeah, it's interesting that those are the two names we bring up because, Piyush, if we look at that Delhi team, I think those are the only two players we can say who've not consistently played in IPL playoffs or in big games. It's a lot of these players that played in the final in 2020. Andrik Nortje was part of that team. Khalil Ahmed has, of course, had lots of experience in the IPL. Has been sensational for the Sunrisers. Shardul Thakur for CSK. Aksar has been part of playoffs before. So too, of course, is Rishabh Pant and Mitch Marsh is back of a World Cup final win. This has got quite a lot of big match experienced players, fair to say?
Yeah, definitely. Because if you see these kind of matches, it's a big game and it's a pressure game, and all these guys has that experience. So that really counts and that really matters. And you really want your big players to perform at this stage because, as you mentioned earlier, it's like a knockout stage for them. If they don't win from here, they have to pack their bags. So it's very important for their big players to come to the party. And the best part for Delhi team is they all have experience of playing these pressure games.
We have not seen the big Pant innings. And I think we went through that entire 2020 edition, Piyush, without seeing that big Pant innings. He had a 50 in the final. We almost saw the best of Pant in the final, but it was a game and a season that Mumbai dominated. Since then, too, we're seeing shades of the dangerous Pant, but we're not seeing the big innings. Is he in that category of a big game will bring out the best in him, or is there still like a question or an unfinished element to Rishabh Pant, the batter?
I think he's a kind of player, it doesn't make a difference to him. It's a big game, it's a start of the tournament and the middle stage of the tournament. He's going to go play his natural game. And as correctly mentioned, like the way he has played in this tournament, he played those, good cameos of 25, 30 runs and that at a good pace, but he's not able to get that one big inning which you really know Pant for. So maybe this could be the game because as we always talk about law of averages, so it's been so many innings, he didn't get those big runs, not even like a 50 or something. So this could be the night and he can make sure he get that one big for the Delhi.
Okay, now I've given all of you some extra information to help you make your Wonder Wins team. You can back someone like Rishabh Pant, David Warner. You know the result of the toss as well. So get busy and make your fantasy team right now. Just head to wonderwins.com. Of course, you stand a chance to win big if you get your team right. Conditions, of course, apply. And good luck with your team for this one. Nice to see Deepak Chahar back as well with bat in hand. But that's fine. Right. Anyway, let's focus on another key player for Delhi Capitals. Kuldeep Yadav's turn will come in the second innings when Delhi have to defend whatever they score. But it is a Kuldeep Yadav that started spectacularly. Then we've seen something change. It's also resulted in a lack of faith by his captain. He's not bowled his 4 overs as often. Their economy is on the higher side. A lot of those wickets were in the first half. We're seeing a Kuldeep Yadav who's bowling any differently towards the last few games, Piyush, if you could just pinpoint.
Well, if you see the last game, he bowled really well and he was setting up the batsman quite nicely. And in few games where he went for a run in such a long tournament, it does happen to player because you can't have all 14 games outstanding. So you bound to have those few, bad games in between. So that exactly happened. And after that, he came back really strongly. And the way he bowled in the last game, especially against Punjab, and the way he set up the, batters. So I think he'll carry that confidence in this game and we'll definitely, we'll like to see him bowling in at his best.
This was the fixture, the first game that Delhi played this season where we saw the best of Kuldeep. Was player of the match, got the wickets of Rohit Sharma, Kyron Pollard, changed the momentum completely, and then we saw the season we did. Where he bowled to Liam Livingstone last game. It almost seems like he fancies the matchup against the big, hard-hitting overseas player. You've got Tim David here, you've got Brevis here. Is that the sort of matchup that you're looking at Kuldeep Yadav today?
Well, I think for a spin bowler, when you come up against those guys who you know are going to take you on, and there obviously are a lot of batsmen in T20 cricket who can be aggressive against you, but particularly someone like Livingston who you know, if you get a couple of balls at him, he's obviously looking to hit you for 6. And more often than not, he's good enough. But I think that sets up how Kuldeep Yadav's going to bowl, and therefore he's got a bit more clarity in his mind around the ball that he wants to bowl. And obviously he turns to his googly when he's slightly under pressure or he's trying to take a wicket. So I think he's been very impressive. There was the one game, I think, early on, or middle of the season against Lucknow where Huda and Rahul really took him on. And that sort of, I think, rattled him a little bit. And he went back into his shell and potentially wasn't bowling like he had in the first part of the season, but it feels like he's recorrected, and that last performance was magnificent.
We'll see the best of Kuldeep Yadav. Will we see the best of Tim David? We certainly saw it for a lot longer in the last game against Sunrisers, but for a moment of serious miscalculation, that would have resulted in Mumbai beating the Sunrisers. But Tim David's a different player than the one that played in the opening game against Delhi and played after that against Rajasthan and got left out for reasons that will probably go to the grave of the Mumbai Indians management. Last 5, average nearly 70, strike rate in excess of 200. Important for David to, I don't think it's important. I think he's already made his point or his case.
I think he'll be collecting his cheque next year. He won't be going back into the auction.
What can he pick from that last game, though? Just it looked like a player who was dominating and then had a terrible moment of judgment.
Well, we discussed after the game that sometimes when you're in that mode, you actually forget you've got a partner and a partner who can actually contribute, get a single, get a boundary, get a 6, whatever it is. So sometimes you forget about that and you think it's all on you, and so you put that pressure on yourself to get it done. And he was getting it done, but there's no need to put that much pressure on himself in terms of taking that run. And that would be the only thing, because his ball striking is exceptional. And so far we've seen no type of ball that actually worries him. Bang it in short. He's got so much strength when they go full, and spin bowling as well. So bowlers are on notice that you have to be almost perfect when you're bowling to him.
I'm sure Delhi would have thought of this, Piyush. What if David is again on the charge in a chase and he took a liking to Natarajan? It seems like he prefers hitting the seamers or the faster bowlers. We've seen Yuzvendra Chahal bowl deep into the innings, Rashid Khan on a few occasions. Would you be tempted to consider that sort of matchup, that we'll keep our spinner for Tim David potentially towards the end of the game?
Well, it totally depends on the situation, because depends how Mumbai starts and how much they are, chasing. So totally depends on the, start and how the game is going on. And yes, if the game is like a bit 50-50 or equally balanced, so I think he'll save 1 or 2 overs for the spinners, maybe 1 from Akshay, 1 from Kuldeep, because both of them can bowl in slog overs and they have done that. So that would be a good matchup, because the way Tim David is striking the ball against the faster bowler, I'm sure they would be thinking about getting a spinner on.
Not the kind of thing that you'd spend a lot of time discussing pre-match. You leave it to the instinct of the captain in a situation.
No, I think a lot of discussion would be going on around how we deal with David when he comes out, and they'll plan for him to come in early, maybe at 4, and then they'll plan for him to be at that back end. And I think they will save an over from Kuldeep Yadav. I think they'll use him as an attacking weapon to Tim David, because I don't think they just want to roll out fast bowlers to him, because that seems when he's at his absolute best.
We did see the best of Shardul Thakur in the last game. We've also seen Khalil Ahmed perhaps having his best season. He has had better seasons in the past, but he's bowling differently. Had an off game last time. Would you have been tempted for Chetan Sakaria, or do you believe Khalil's done enough to keep his place in this team in spite of that one poor game?
100%. Khalil Ahmed's been so impressive. And I think this is what franchises have learnt over the years, is that you have to factor in maybe 4 tough performances through a season if you're going to roll a fast bowler out for a 14-game season, because it's just not realistic to get 14 performances, because you slightly miss and you get hit for 6, and that can affect a bowler. But what can affect them more is coming in and out of the team. So I think it's right to back Khalil the whole season.
Right, he's going to be up against a Mumbai Indians batting lineup that also sees a couple of changes. Devil Brevis returns. We saw some serious hitting ability in the few games that he did get. And Ritik Shokeen is back too. That's because Sanjay Yadav, after making his debut in the last game, has been injured, as Rohit Sharma mentioned at the toss. Brevis comes in for Tristan Stubbs, who's not had a lot of luck. Got a second ball duck against CSK when the ball was moving around, and then ended up getting run out, backing up too far in the game against the Sunrisers. So Brevis is back. Do you almost feel for Tristan Stubbs? Although personally, I was wondering why they didn't play Devil Brevis earlier.
I don't feel like we've got to know Tristan Stubbs yet. He entered our life fleetingly, isn't now he's gone again. So we get a little bit of Brevis, but this potentially is actually just giving someone a game, because he started the season pretty well, fell away a little bit, and now it's an opportunity just to finish. So I'm sure he's part of their plans going into next season, and in a lot of ways it's hopefully finish on a high for him.
Yeah, and that's a question I was going to ask you as well, Piyush. Is Brevis part of the plan? We've seen some hitting ability, but he is still not the finished product. At 3 crore with a 3-year sort of plan, do you think Brevis is going to be part of the Mumbai Indians plan for the next 2 years?
I'm definitely sure he'll be the part for the next couple of years. planning, and because he's somebody who showed a lot of talent, and the way he was playing, and he didn't take any much of pressure, and he can clear the boundary, he can run well between the wickets, so he showed a lot of talent and temperament here. So he'll be definitely the one of the pick.
It's such a tricky one because an under 19 promising overseas player could go either way. He's occupying a key position, 1 out of your 8 overseas. In Mumbai Indians' case, 1 out of his 7. Who knows what will happen with Jofra Archer next year? But do you believe there's merit in investing in an overseas international?
I think so, particularly because he's so young, and it's almost territory that we haven't seen, unseen territory, because uncapped, 19 years old, coming off very few performances, and not from the subcontinent either. So you don't often see this sort of player enter into the IPL till they've proven themselves a little bit, or at least been through a big bash or a big tournament somewhere else that they've had a chance. So this is new ground, and I think Mumbai have probably handled it pretty well, and they'll look at him as a long-term investment, and they'll look at it as hopefully in 3 years' time that he is a retained player because he's developed and grown so much. He might be playing for South Africa, or he might be starring in tournaments, domestic tournaments around the world.
So that's the way to fast track, you could say, the unfinished product, getting closer to the finished product, that you hope he plays a lot of cricket around the year?
I think that's the big part of selection. You want to expedite that learning process as much as you can, and because Mumbai only have him for 2 months, they're hoping for other people to do it, and I'm sure they'll invest in him in terms of his confidence throughout the season, knowing that throughout the time that he's not with Mumbai. But it'll be about game time for him from now on, leading into next year's IPL.
The other change is Hrithik Shokeen. They played Sanjay Yadav, I guess, as left-arm spin option, Piyush, but would Shokeen actually not be a bad selection for today? There's David Warner, Liam Livingston got him out first ball in the last game. Mumbai don't really have an off-spinner, but Shokeen could be a good selection today?
Yeah, it could be a good selection because the way he bowls, because his seam, because seam position is so correct. He's like a proper classical off spinner, and that sometimes really trouble because the way the wickets are playing here, you really need to bowl a little slow in the air to get that turn out of the wicket. So I think Hrithik Shokeen could come as handy.
You really like Hrithik Shokeen.
Yeah, and I think if he does take that new ball, because of that seam position that Piyush mentions, it may turn, it may skid on, and as the game goes on and that new ball wears off, you probably won't see that variation. So he can be a really dangerous operator because he has such an ability to change his pace because of his wrist position.
You'd be tempted to give him the first over?
I think so. I would be surprised if he didn't get it after what Livingston did, albeit, I mean, it's a one-ball sample. It's David Warner who's proven himself against off-spin time and time again, but franchises love to see to replicate what's worked, and so they'll look at that last game and try it again.
I mean, this is, you could say, of course, a game of great consequence and significance for Delhi. But for Mumbai Indians, just look at their track record. And even when they've been poor in, say, the early parts of the IPL, before they put together this extraordinary core group of players, this has still been a terrible season. 23% is the win. They've lost 10. They have never lost more than 8 before. Even in the early parts of the IPL, they had a bad season, even in South Africa. But they stand at the cusp of possibly losing 11 out of 14. Would that at all change the way you review the season? Let's say you pick up a couple of wins towards the end, or if you lose 11, does that look even worse?
They've done their review already.
Yeah,
I'm sure of it. I think this game is irrelevant in respects to a review. They will have decided on their players, and they'll be looking at avenues to get better and better. So, 3 wins versus 4 wins, I think, is irrelevant at this time.
Piyush, you'd go with that? Today doesn't really matter in terms of what side of the result Mumbai Indians end on?
Yeah, it doesn't matter, but it only matters to RCB, I believe.
I see Daniel Sams as the new ball in hand. Is that a trick miss, Piyush? Would you have gone Shokeen first over like Dan says, or are you okay with Sams taking the new ball?
Well, we have seen ball moving around a bit, so Daniel Sams is somebody who can move the ball around. But when they have got Shokeen in, so they could have gone with Shokeen as well. But I'm sure if Shokeen would have bowled the first over, David Warner would have been at the non-striker end for sure.
Yeah, what happened in the last game was interesting, wasn't it? That Sarfaraz took strike, and then when they saw that Livingston's bowling, Warner actually swapped. So, I mean, I don't know. I've never really figured who gets to decide first. Does the batter have to decide who wants to take strike first? The bowler?
I do know this because I've been. It's going to escape me.
Go
I think it's the
The bowler has to first
The
come
bowler
on,
decides,
and then the
yeah.
batter can move after that. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter. Otherwise,
That is fair.
otherwise
Let's
that could
get
keep changing.
IT on it.
Yeah, I mean, it could. We'll ask our top reporters to investigate. Anyway, score that Delhi would be happy with. Game's underway now. Big game for them.
180 minimum.
Piyush, 180?
Yeah, because they want to win this one, so they need somewhere around 175, 180 for sure.
And I must ask the two of you, are you backing Delhi today? Or do you believe this is a banana skin sort of game? This is going to cost them and put RCB through the back door?
No,
Dan?
I back Delhi just because of those big game players and the fact that that team actually looks so strong.
Piyush?
Now, Daniel is with Delhi, then I'm with Bombay then.
Oh,
My logic is totally different.
Are you
Coin toss.
seriously saying the Mumbai favourites, or are you just sort of joking?
No, I feel Mumbai somehow.
Okay then. Piyush Chawla says Mumbai Indians and Dan Vettori says Delhi Capitals. Keep an eye on this game. I'm sure the RCB fans will as well. And we shall pick up the chat at the end of the Capitals innings. Thankfully, it started on time as we had expected. Join us then for Maruti Suzuki Presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Timeout powered by IQ 95G.